This segment of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. The Free National Movement campaigned hard on its slogan, "It's the people's time," a catchphrase that resonated with the majority of the electorate who voted the party into office 6+ months ago. Well, it's for this very reason that retired Anglican Archbishop Drexel Gomez says he's disappointed with the government's approach to produce an economic plan for the country, one he strongly believes should have involved public consultation.
To me, it's a backward move in terms of process. The process should be the government, with its advisors and the cabinet, they decided they want to go this direction. You have some town meetings, you produce a draft for something, or first paper, or the English call it a white paper, and you circulate it, and then you move to, after the discussion, then you take you decide on your final form, and then you go to Parliament with it. But this is something that is just dumped in Parliament, and from what I gather, I didn't know, I gather there was little discussion of it, even in Parliament, that many members of Parliament did not even contribute in the debate in Parliament.
All in all, Bishop Gomez contends that the hotly debated Commercial Enterprises Bill is a bad piece of legislation.
It was rushed. Reading it, you see it is rushed. And a sufficient amount of what I call critical thinking has not been employed. And why the rush, I don't know. Well, it might be the case that the government is aware of the fact that the economy is hardly moving at all. Everyone admits that we need to do something about the economic situation. So the desire to respond to that reality might have led to the rush.
The major bone of contention about the bill is that at a $250,000 threshold is just too low for potential investors to receive economic concessions. There's also the immigration aspect. Under the bill, foreign businesses investing in the Bahamas would be entitled to a specific number of work permits for senior personnel. If the application for those work permits is not answered after 14 days, they would be deemed approved. The retired Archbishop finds this totally unreasonable. Having been passed in the House of Assembly last week, the bill's on to the Senate. An illegal gun seized, a stolen car recovered, and 2 men in custody as a result. From what authorities have told us, drug enforcement officers were patrolling Quarry Mission Road just before 11 last night when they stopped and searched a silver Honda with 2 male occupants. In the process, officers found a .40 pistol with 14 rounds of ammunition. The men were subsequently arrested. A short distance away, police spotted a black Kia Sportage Jeep reportedly taken in an armed robbery earlier that same day. At the time, a couple was on a beach in western New Providence when 2 gunmen held them up and made off with the vehicle. Investigations are ongoing. Now, with just 2 more weeks to go before the end of the #ThatHurts violence campaign, the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute jumped on board today, hosting the End to Violence panel discussion and workshop where key speakers spoke on dealing with the consequences of physical, sexual, emotional, and financial abuse. Pan American Health Organization and World Health Organization country representative to the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos Islands, Dr. Esther Duvalier.
Regrettably, many women experience abuse, terror, and violence, some suffering permanent disability and even death as a consequence. Violence against women is a global public health problem of epidemic proportions, requiring urgent action. According to the World Health Organization, 1 in every 3 women in the world has experienced physical and/or sexual violence by an intimate partner, usually, or even by persons unrelated to them. Some 10% of women have abuse problems from persons who are unrelated to them. And almost 40% of murders of women are committed by their male intimate partner.
Crisis Center advocate Ms. Donna Nichols also expanded on the dynamics of domestic violence.
Domestic violence is a deliberate act, to gain power and control over another person. I call it purposeful manipulation. And so we have to be very careful. So the manipulator has a program that this is what I'm choosing to do. It's something that's learned. It's a chosen behavior. And the main thing we have to do is not to make excuses for the person who continues to do it.
And a sigh of relief today as the 2017 Atlantic hurricane season closes following what experts say was a hyperactive and extremely dangerous 5 months that turned out 17 named storms, making it the 5th most active season since records began in 1851 and the most since 2012. This year's monster storms Harvey, Irma, and Maria left behind death, damage, and widespread destruction, accounting for hundreds of billions of dollars across the United States alone. And in Dominica, the Caribbean island was decimated. Back here at home, the Bahamas wrestled its own challenges after Hurricane Irma battered and bruised the southern Bahamas, particularly Ragged Island. No word yet on the cost associated with restoring that island. Now, while today marks the end of the season, Department of Meteorology Senior Deputy Director Jeffrey Simmons says there is a chance that another system can still form, as was the case last year.
But if something like that were to happen, it's a very slim chance of it happening. And those systems, from what I can recall occurring, none of them have ever caused any serious impact to the Bahamas or to any other landfall for that matter. But we can start relax tomorrow, December 1st. So we can relax, because what we see on the horizon right now, we don't see anything else developing in our area for the rest of this year.
One thing certain, names like Harvey, Irma, and Maria will no doubt be retired by the National Hurricane Center. This, of course, due to their ferocity and impact. Stay with us. We have a look at sports and weather when we return.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.